Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Ali and I'm an author and I post videos on YouTube about books and writing. Happy Sunday to you! I hope you've had a great weekend so far and let's chat a bit about authors and publishing options and what I'd recommend. So, as I was saying, today is Sunday and if you haven't seen Thursday's episode, my Strength to Let Go gay paranormal romance novel is still free until the end of, today. So if you haven't yet, you should definitely check the links in the description and get a free copy and enjoy. Book 2 is coming out in October, right at the end of the month. Literally the last day of the month is the release date. And you should definitely get ready for the next adventure in this series. Now, on to today's topic, I'm going to do another author's answer video. So I'm going to pretty much paraphrase the question because it's huge and complicated and I want to make sure I explain everything from my limited perspective and experience. And before we begin, I would like to say that the Author's Answer series was started by JD Archer, whose videos and channel and link of questions for authors to answer I will link down below. Now let's start. The question for today is Vanity Press, indie publishing, self-publishing, traditional publishing, author publishing. What's the difference between all this and what would I recommend? Well, I recommend none and all. I recommend being a hybrid author, actually, which is a mix of traditional publishing or traditional like publishing and self-publishing. To better explain that, let's get a bit into the terms. Traditional publishing is like the traditional route where you go with a big name publisher, you first get an agent, then the agent queries said publishers and gets you a contract, and then you publish your book, and then you wait for a year to get the book out, if you're lucky maybe 2 or 3, and then get a sales report every quarter or maybe twice a year or maybe even once a year, it depends on the publisher I hear. And pretty much you get a really tiny percentage of the royalties. Of course, the sweet deal in this is that you get an advance before your book is published, right at the moment where it's contracted. But these advances vary. They start as low as a few $100s and they go to, 7-figure amounts. If you think of the process of submitting your book to a publisher, you can go with big name publishers and small presses that are connected to these publishers, or you can go indie. And going indie means you go with a publisher that's smaller, like a small press that's independent from all the big publisher, I don't think I can call them companies, I should call them like corporations because they are so huge and so interlinked. And you can stick with someone who's independent from all that mess and who maybe takes a bit more risks, maybe doesn't require you to have an agent and you can just submit directly to them. Self-publishing means, or author publishing, which I think is kind of the same, or it depends, it can be an author who gets their own publishing company and only releases their titles through that company, but self-publishing is when you, the author, do everything. You get an editor, you get a book cover artist to design it. You do the whole packaging of the book, like formatting and converting and getting a paperback and all of that jazz. And then you publish it through online distributors or publishing services. You can go straight to the sites that will distribute your books, like Amazon and Barnes & Nobles and Google Books and so on. Or you can go through a third-party publisher like Smashwords or Draft to Digital or Pronoun, I think it's called. It's a newer one and I was just hearing a lot of conversations about them. And what you do is that you give them the book, they distribute it to everyone under the sun, and then you get a share of the royalties. You get the biggest share from direct sales from that site, like Smashwords was giving something like 80% or 75% of royalties when people bought through Smashwords, and then they decrease for other publishers. The benefit of going through this distribution services is that you just submit the book to one place and then it's distributed everywhere. If you want to go separately to each of these sites, it will take a long time. I have tried this, and I have tried it with Smashwords because I prefer them to draft to digital at the time. Maybe because it was the first one I tried and then I was just used to their process. And it was pretty straightforward, but then I would publish myself on Amazon. And over the years I saw that most of my sales came from Amazon. So later on I decided I'll just skip everyone else and just be a dedicated Amazon author, which means my books show up in Kindle Unlimited. And I get money every time someone borrows a book and reads it. Which for me was great because it doubled my income from Amazon and I didn't really have to compensate for anything else because I wasn't really selling other places. The only other place where I did really great, which means I got on the bestseller list twice, was all romance books, but they shut down at the end of 2016, so I wasn't really losing anything. So this year, at the beginning of the year in January, when I released my titles, the new ones, and republished the old ones that I got back from my old publisher, I just went to Kindle Unlimited. So KDP Select for me, I just enrolled all my books and then I just watched the page reads come and increase my income. They actually generated even more sales for my books and it was great. So that's what I have the most experience with, self-publishing and working with an independent small press. I did that for a number of years. I first got into this world by submitting a short story to an anthology, which I recommend to everyone. If you're not sure about the publisher and you want to see how you work with them, how well you can collaborate with their editors and their marketing and everything, I surely recommend submitting to an anthology because you go through the very same process as publishing a book. You get your submission in, they read it and review it. If they like it, they will offer you a contract. You sign that contract and then you go into the editing process. For me, it's been 2 rounds of editing with 2 different editors, and every editor went through the book twice. So the first editor got my book, read it, sent me all the edits. I worked through them, sent it back, they went through my book again, and then when I completed all those edits, it was sent to the second editor. At the end of all that, there was a proofing process that I was part of. We were also supposed to proof our own story, and the people at the publishing company were also proofing it, so we were trying to make sure there weren't any typos. So any given book would go through at least 3 different people, 4, 5, it depended how many were involved in the proofing process. And still after all those people, there were still typos in the books. Because, in case you didn't know, no matter how big the publisher, there will always be a typo in your book. There is no book out there that has no typos. None. Because, you know, we're human, we make mistakes, and no matter how many of us go through it, someone will let something slip, and it's not usually the same thing that someone before them let slip. It happens. So, I did that for like 3 individual releases, a short story, a novella and a novel, and then I had short stories in another 4 or 5 anthologies with my publisher. At the same time I was also self-publishing, but at a slower pace. And to me this is the best combination. You get access to a publisher's resources and their editorial team, and you learn a lot about publishing from them. But then you retain your self-published titles where you have full control. Let me just stress that. Everything that has to do with your book release is your responsibility. So this is not for everyone. I think it's great if you have the background of working with a publisher to try self-publishing, but when you're, really sure of what you're doing, because it really takes a lot of work, a lot of organization, and you have to know the right people to work with. I have worked on my self-published titles mostly with editors that I met through the publishing companies, because they were freelancers, they were doing editing on the side, and I already knew how great they were and I wanted to work with them more. I also met cover designers through them, but here I didn't care anymore because I have two best friends that both do cover design, and I work with them because they are freaking brilliant. And if you want details, I can give you details, of course, just ask. So the only thing I didn't talk about is Vanity Publishing, because Vanity Publishing is, I don't even know how to describe it. It's self-publishing for authors that have no idea what they're doing, but they don't want to go through a publisher. So you pay these people usually a lot of money, like thousands of dollars, so that they find you an editor, a cover designer, a formatter, and then they publish and distribute your book. As far as I could tell, it's a lot of money. It costs a lot, and you can do better in terms of price and quality if you do it yourself. That's just been my experience. I would never pay that much, especially since I do my own formatting, for example. I got pretty good at it, and I use Judo, which is easy. And if you want to see how easy it is to create your own ebook with this software, I've made a video about it, and I will link it somewhere here for you. It literally takes like 5 to 10 minutes to get a EPUB and a MOBI version of your book, so can't get any easier than that. Sure, formatting paperbacks is a bit harder. It will probably take you a full day to get a book to look exactly as you want it, but paying that much money on this is just, it doesn't make sense to me. I'd rather find good editors to work with and pay them separately, pay a cover designer, and then if I want to advertise at all, I can pay for that. And this is just my take. I would not recommend Vanity Publishing unless you have a lot of money to throw out. You don't want to vet the people that will work for you, because they will just appoint editors and cover designers. You have no say in that. You just pay to have the final product. And for me, the best way is to be a hybrid author, to just have some publisher books and have your own self-published titles. And I think, I'm biased here, but I prefer independent publishers, not those associated with the big companies where they choose books based on what's hot now and what they think is going to work. I prefer indie small presses because they're usually kind of niched, especially in the gay fiction writing world. They are niche publishers. They are focusing on releasing a certain type of book. They are really in tune with their readers, and they kind of know what they're doing. Of course, you should pay attention and maybe, just maybe, make sure you go through a vetted publisher, because sometimes, no matter how well-intentioned people are, how big their dreams are, they lack the business skills to make this work for them, and publishers, the small ones, often close shop. You get your rights back, you can republish, it's not a big deal. Well, it is, I'm trying not to make it a big deal, but try to find the balance between the freedom and limited red tape that the smaller publisher offers, and risking too much on an unvetted publisher. It's just my recommendation. And before you ask, my first book, my debut release, was self-published, and that was after I had gotten a contract from a small UK publisher for them to publish the book for me. I signed the contract initially, but before we even got started on anything like talking more about signing the contract, I backed out of it because I didn't feel they were putting enough effort into it. They were never asking me if I've completed the work, if I was ready to submit the full manuscript, because they had only read a part of it to accept it. So I thought, I can do better than that on my own. I'm not going to split my royalties with you because you have tons of other books that you want to promote and are more interested in than mine, obviously. So I'll just go with the person who's most interested in making my book a success, and that was me. But then again, I knew people who could design book covers. I knew people who could format because I'd been in the writing community for a while then. I came from marketing and PR background, and I caught a lot of tricks along the way from authors, and I adapted them, and I could pretty much promote my book. So I did the blog tour thing, release party all day long and all that jazz. So God, I think this is going to be a long rambling video, I'm sorry. But this was a question that merited a lot of focus. So I first started self-publishing. I then vetted a publisher through an anthology. I liked the way they worked, I liked the books they were promoting at the time and publishing at the time, and then I went with some books. I kept publishing on my own as a self-published author, and going forward, that's my plan, to keep about 60 to 70% of my books self-published and then work with some carefully selected publishers on the others. I chose publishers based on the contracts they offer, the books they sell, and how they package those books. And I will talk about all of that and what I look for in a publisher in a future video. Do let me know if you want to hear more about that. I hope I helped clear things a bit about the many ways of publishing that are available to you. I still believe being a hybrid author is the best option, and if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'm happy to answer as many questions as I can. I will be back with an author's answer video next week, and until then, I hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and starting tomorrow, have a lovely, lovely week. Don't forget, before I go, download your free copy of Strength to Let Go. It's only until midnight US Central Time, I think, that you can get it, so hurry up. I think it's a great read, and it's just perfect for a lazy Sunday. If you've liked this video, please give it a big thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you all next time. Bye!